Hoosier Nation, summer rolling on here, and look, there's a new pope, right? We have a new pope. Darian DeVries has a new basketball team. The roster's filled out. We're ready to go. We can actually talk about a little bit of X's and O's. We can talk a little bit big picture. We can talk about how Indiana's roster stacks up to the Big Ten and then the rest of college basketball. Matt and I are gonna dive into Darian DeVries' first offseason. Offseason zero as Indiana men's basketball coach. All the details, what we liked, what we disliked, ask some pressing questions as we get into the summer. College basketball is still, 5 months away, but time's going to fly between now and then. Never mind the fact
Yep.
that IU football is going to be undefeated by the time that starts. So there's a
Heck
lot to
yeah.
get into. There's a lot to get into. Matt and I are going to discuss the offseason, maybe give Darian DeVries a quick grade to see how we feel about how things stand, discuss the roster, the additions on this team, and so much more here on episode 346 of the Hoosier Sound, where we are the official podcast of Indiana HQ. We are recording this edition of the Hoosier Sound on Thursday, June 19th, 2025. Here I am, your host, Nathan Christian. Here with me today is my normal co host, Matt Lukens. Matt, Indiana's filled out their roster. In fact, just recently, a couple days ago, we heard that IU dipped into the Euro market, like a lot of other Big Ten and college basketball teams are doing, getting Serbian Aleksa Ristic. The roster's filled out. There are a lot of ways to dig into this. Darren DeVries has a team. That's my headline. There's a lot to play with here. There's a lot to mold between now and the start of the season. What's your headline as you look back at Darren DeVries' first offseason? There are 12 guys listed on the roster. There's still another spot or two that are left to fill if you want. What's your headline as far as Darren DeVries' first offseason?
Well, I guess my first headline would be that modern Indiana basketball is here. Like the team is going to play positionless basketball for the near future, for at least the next
For sure.
4 years, right?
That's going to be his first
They're
move.
going to they're going to be playing positionless basketball, which is awesome. I'm super excited to see it. There are some serious concerns I have with this roster. Um, but all that being said, super excited to kind of see them hit the court. I think the recent addition of Ristic is actually super interesting because that means they've seen a couple days of practice and then they're like, you know what? Not that like they haven't been in the pipeline talking to Ristic or whatever, but like I'm sure something happened in practice. Like, you know what? Maybe we do need one more shooter. Like we need one more hired gun.
Yeah.
And they kind of went out and made him an offer he can't refuse. So
I like it. You actually mentioned that. One of the things that I wonder if they questioned as well is what if we had another multi-year project on this roster, or at least a multi-year player?
that
A
too.
project might be
Yeah.
too much of a general but like, what if we had another multi-year player? Look, six of our guys lose eligibility after the season. It might help to have an additional player come in and have a couple of years in the system. I know. In this day and age, college basketball, a 2 year player, oh,
God
danger zone,
forbid they stay.
danger zone.
God forbid they stay for 6 months.
And yeah, that's not healthy. I'm not going to go there just yet. But look, um, Ristich comes in. We're not going to get too much into the weeds as far as he's concerned, but I think there could be something to that. This coaching staff, in addition to Darren DeVries, may have said, "Hey, look, maybe a guy who can shoot a little bit. Of course, plant the seed as far as Euro recruiting is concerned. Several other schools have gone that route here in this offseason, which apparently is legal. So Indiana's saying, hey, we got to play by those rules as well. You were talking about concerns you had with this roster, man. I'm pretty positive about this roster that Darren DeVries built. You mentioned positionless basketball. I'm not going to dismiss that. Like, it's very different.
Mm.
It's very different than what we've seen at Indiana before. right?
Right.
The number one team in the country with Tom Crean had Cody Zeller, Christian Watford, good size down low, in addition to big guards and wings like Victor Oladipo, Will Sheehy.
Right.
The Tom Crean's second Big Ten championship team had some big dudes, right? Thomas Bryant's done really good things as far as building a sustained NBA career, and now he's in the finals.
Yep.
OG Anunoby, big wing, going out there doing several things on the basketball court. I'm sure I'm missing one or two guys there as well. But
Troy
to be fair,
Williams and
Yogi
the rest of
Yogi
them.
Ferrell and Nick Zeisloff are
Yogi.
pretty short, but you're right. Troy Williams, yeah, that long, rangy wing player. And then the Mike Woodson era was defined by Trace Jackson Davis. He was by far the best player in the Woodson era. TJD was by
Mm.
far one of the best players in Indiana history. Bigs are very productive at Indiana. Kalel Ware came over from Oregon, where he was in danger of his NBA career derailing, his basketball career derailing. Comes to Indiana, very productive. Darian DeVries is kind of throwing all of that aside, and I like it. I like it. Let's go. Let's build a basketball team of big guards, of wings, of versatile bigs. Let's go out, build a team that can pass, that can rebound, that can score. Now you might say Indiana doesn't have really large, physically imposing players like Trace Jackson Davis on this team, and that's true. You're right. The only two guys on this team over 6'8" are Reed Bailey, who's more of a stretch four or stretch five, and Sam Alexis, who is very much like a block shot, rim protector, dunker type of player, but he's just one guy. Indiana's not going to play through the post with their big that often anymore. And seeing that positionless style, versatile, I definitely think of that as modern, um, in conjunction with a 10 deep arsenal of shooters. I don't know if this is going to blow up in Darren DeVries' face year one, but I'm ready to see how it goes. And I think there's a question of, well, how are you going to grab rebounds in the Big Ten? How are you going to deal with the physical grind of the Big Ten? I think you do it through depth. And I think a lot of times there is a just too broad of a connection between size and height with
Yeah,
rebounding. There are a
it's
lot
true.
of tall, large players that struggle rebounding the basketball. It's not one of their
Mm.
strengths. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
at Indiana, I just saw Anthony Leal, for example, have a very prosperous last couple of seasons as far as rebounding the basketball as somebody who's in a 6'3", 6'4" frame.
Right.
There are a lot of different parts of rebounding. It's the effort, it's the system, it's also the size, the physical strength. If we
Mm.
find out this upcoming season that rebounding is a little bit more about effort and about the system, more so than the size, I think Indiana will be just fine in that department. But I can't wait to see shooting. I can't wait to see versatility. I can't wait to see multi-dimensional basketball. And I want to see an Indiana team force an opponent into changing their game plan. I want to see other teams go small to match Indiana rather than Indiana having to play on the defensive. Is that like is that an overly optimistic view of this, Matt? I'm looking for it's going to be very different. I don't want to always equate different to better, but I'm ready. I'm ready to see how this looks.
I'm also ready to see how it looks. I will say this. I don't think different is bad. I'm just gonna say the way the my nitpicky thing, not even nitpicky. Honestly, it's I'm maybe so jaded and scared and
A lot of
I
people
have
are.
PTSD. I have PTSD from this basketball program that whenever I see a Hoosier basketball team and I think about a Hoosier basketball team, my mind goes to how can they hurt me? Right? How
I
is
get
this
that.
going to
I get
hurt
that.
the
I get
most?
that. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And for this team in particular, I look at the roster construction, I go, we are one bum ankle away from playing, you know, a six
Tucker
foot six
DeVries at the
dude,
5.
Tucker DeVries at the 5. Like I'm just looking at his roster. Like Reed Bailey,
Yeah,
God forbid, knock on wood. I got a wood desk right here.
sure.
Trips, falls,
Something.
pulls
Yeah.
a groin and he's out for 2 weeks. And we have Purdue and Wisconsin and
Michigan State. Yeah.
Michigan State. And you got to go up against Yaxel
Yeah.
at Michigan. You got to go up
Sure.
against TKR
Yeah.
at Purdue. You got to go up against whoever the heck Wisconsin's got as their big next year. You're just sitting there thinking to yourself,
Yeah.
we have Tucker DeVries guarding Yaxel in the post. Like, is this really what we want here? And like, the Big Ten is a league, and I respect the heck out of DeVries and his staff for being like, you know what, frick it, we don't need a 7'7" dude to win in the Big Ten like Purdue does. Like, we can go out and try to play our own brand of basketball and win that way. I respect that. But I think it's been proven time and time again in the Big Ten that doing your own style and your own thing doesn't particularly work. And it's also part of the reason why the Big Ten's hasn't won a national championship in the last 20 years because they've cannibalized themselves. So like, I'm looking at Illinois with Brad Underwood. Brad Underwood played up tempo, super fast press
Yeah.
basketball until he showed up at Illinois. He tried to play that the first couple of years. He got steamrolled the Big Ten. He's taken that completely back, right? They don't even play a even somewhat similar style to whatever the heck they were running beforehand, especially defensively. And so, like, I'm looking at what DeVries has done with this roster, and I look at the weakness it has, and it's so glaring. It reminds me of the Tom Allen football teams because you knew what they wanted to do and you knew exactly what the weakness was for those teams heading into every single season for Tom Allen's team. And you could probably guess how many wins they were going to get and how many losses they were going to get.
Mm.
For example, the last season we had of Tom Allen, I
Yeah.
guessed we were going to go 3-9.
Yeah.
Guess what we did? We went 3-9. I knew exactly what was going to happen. And I feel like, again, maybe I'm just hurt, right?
Yeah.
Maybe part of me has PTSD, but I look at this team, I know how this is going to go. Like I know what the worst possible scenario is and what the most likely scenario is, and I don't like that the most likely scenario and the worst possible scenario are the exact same thing. And so this is my verbal plea to
Yeah.
the staff, please put one more body. We were just talking about it for the podcast. We were like, who was the guy that was on the roster for the last couple years that was there academically? And he's also like 7 feet tall. I was like,
Yeah.
and we were like, Nathan looked up,
Who
oh,
was it?
Dallas
Who
James.
was it? Who
Right.
was it? Who was it? Yeah. Dallas James. Yeah.
Can we get Dallas James to turn into Houston James and come back to school, or like Arlington James and come back to school? Like, because we need one more body. I need somebody in the break glass in case of emergency guy. And right now we don't have that. We have that for the guards. God forbid we have too many guards.
Well,
But
that's the question, right? Like that's where it goes back to what if Indiana forces other teams to play IU's game?
which
Because,
if
right?
If IU does that, I mean, we're winning the national title. If you're out there forcing teams to play modern basketball and you're running it so well that no one can guard you, you're basically unstoppable. I mean, obviously that UConn team 2 years ago had Klingon, but they ran some of the more modern basketball sets that I have
Yeah,
seen and the
right.
more
Like,
modernish sets I've seen in college basketball for the last 5, 10 years. Why people talk about the team all the time because they ran great stuff that was unguardable, and they also happened some decent pieces, and they actually had a big that could match up to Edie.
and a
But
coach that knew.
God, God, and a coach. But God forbid, like IU's able to do what they did with a 6'8" guy playing starting center. I
Fair
don't know.
enough. Look, I mean, I definitely see that. By no means am I painting a perfect picture of this offseason, this portal cycle for Darren DeVries. But with that said, when you think about those UConn teams, the maybe one of the low key unknown statistics or facts of those UConn back to back titles was that Donovan Clingan only played like 21, 22 minutes per game. Even the year the Huskies won the national championship.
Yeah,
And,
because he
you
split
know,
time.
it's like one of those things where I feel like you probably will just casually thinking back to those Huskies titles would have said, oh, Donovan Clingan, lottery pick in the NBA draft as a center, of course, a key cog in the Huskies national title machine. Um, you probably would be like, oh, you must have played 30, 32 minutes a game. But no, it's like 22. Um, so it makes you think as far as that's concerned. I mean, let's just dive into this question, Matt. I mean, Indiana as a team, right? There's a team now. 12
Mhm.
guys, actually 13 after I think it's 13. No, it's 12 after the addition of Aleksa Ristic. Um, is it tournament or bust in year one for DeVries? Is that where your thought process is right now in June? Is the bar even higher as far as year one is concerned? I think where I'm standing right now, given how the Woodson tenure ended, if you're telling me year one is Indiana makes the NCAA tournament and establishes sort of a foundation and a vision and a mindset of what type of basketball they want to play under Darren DeVries for the next 10, 15 years, ideally, then I'm happy actually with how the season plays out. I think that foundational part, the discipline, the fundamentals, the basics, executing the type of basketball that Darren DeVries wants to play is the biggest thing that needs to happen this upcoming year. The second biggest is that Indiana makes the NCAA tournament. I think everything after that is sort of icing on the cake. I don't know if other IU fans see it that way. That's where I am in the middle of June. Where are you right now?
Playing a modern style of basketball for me, and I mean like the way the roster construction is, they will do that. For me personally, is the floor.
Yeah.
I just want to see good basketball.
Yeah.
I think there's a million different things that can happen in a season.
Yeah.
The entire team could get the bubonic plague for all I know. And we could be out the basketball season. And if we go into the season and be like, well, if they don't win the national title, it's a bust. It's really stupid. So I just want to watch basketball with my eyes
Yeah.
and not have my eyes bleed because I'm watching terrible basketball, right? Like
Yeah.
straight up. That's it. That's the bar for me. I want to be proud of the product they put on the floor. They don't have to win. It will make me sad if they don't win. Yes. Will you
Sure.
get less podcasts from us if they don't win? Probably.
We'll be out of football or Terry
But
Moore women's team. Yeah.
like, Nathan, let's be honest. When the basketball team is not doing very well, Nathan and I both get very, very sad, and I know the rest of you do as
It's
well. It's why you
brutal.
listen to this
It's
podcast, okay?
brutal. How do you miss the tournament, Matt?
So it's yeah, I don't know. It is really hard to do a podcast about a team that you're just not happy with. It's very
Play
hard.
to a
All
style,
those
play
years
to
we
a
had
vision
Archie
that
Miller
makes
and a
sense.
crap football team.
Ugh, those were some bleak
Yeah,
days.
at least our football team's good,
Football team's
and
good.
hopefully the basketball team will be good.
It's funny because
With that
like
being said, I
I'm a
just
Bears
I
fan,
just
Matt.
to finish my
Yeah, yeah.
I know
Go ahead.
to
Go ahead.
finish my thought I want to watch a good brand of basketball and I want to be proud of the product they put on the floor and the trifecta is I want to like the players. If the players are likable and they play a fun style of basketball and they make good social media content and stuff outside of it, I'm okay with that as the floor, like I mean the absolute basement of year one. Obviously, make the tournament, please, please.
Yeah.
But like basement wise, play a style of basketball that players and fans appreciate and want to watch and want to play for. That's it.
For what it's worth, Indiana is 41st as far as their Torvik ranking going into this upcoming season. and that is good for 12th in the league. Yeah.
Ah,
41st is 12th. Nebraska is 43rd. That's 13.
yeah,
So we're talking about 13 out of the 18 teams in this league coming in the top 50 in Torvik. The bottom five in the league are Washington, Northwestern, Minnesota, Penn State, and Rutgers. I think those five teams will be battling for the bottom three, which of course gets eliminated from Big Ten tournament consideration. I'm a
yeah,
Bears fan. And the reason I mentioned that is because the Bears also have a new coach that's coming in and trying to establish a new identity for the football team this upcoming season.
yeah.
And everyone's all caught up. It's Caleb Williams and Roma Dunze and Colston Loveland and the defense and wow and this and that and the win total I think is at 7.5 this upcoming season for the Bears after a disastrous 2020 2024 year. Um, what I'm telling a lot of people is like with the Bears, I just want to see Ben Johnson come in and just establish a foundation, right? The fundamentals, the
Yeah,
discipline. Stop being a meme, right? Stop, having people make fun of you. Remember, Matt, at this point last year, we were talking about IU men's basketball team as a preseason top 25 lock,
yep,
as a Big Ten conference championship contender,
yep,
and it all fell apart.
yep.
And when I look back and I'm like, why did it fall apart? Is because politics got too involved. The fundamentals went out the door. The basics left the building.
Yep.
They left the building.
They left the building. They went on vacation.
The nuts and bolts, the blocking and tackling completely disappeared.
Hmm.
Then, by the way, it came back the last 5, 6 weeks because Mike Woodson left his post. And then because of that, the politics disappeared. And because of that, Anthony Leal
Yeah.
and Lou Goody played a lot more. And all of a sudden, you saw the fundamentals return for a nice little push at the end of the year. I want to
Yeah.
see fundamentals. I want to see basics. I want to see discipline. I want to see rebounding. I want to see shot making. I want to see ball movement. And if you win, great. If you do those things, you'll be in the NCAA tournament. That's why
Right.
the teams that make March Madness get to that level, even if it's an at-large type environment. It's because they are able to go out and do some of those basic things that get them there, right? Like they play to a vision,
Yeah.
they play to a style of play, and that's how they end up making March Madness in the first place. It's why Clemson got to March Madness. It's why you know, Ole Miss got there and Mizzou, right? Like it's because of that type of stuff. So that's really
Yeah.
what I'm paying attention to. We got a lot more to talk about here. But first, it's time for Who Won the Week this past week in IU sports. And we have to tip our cap to this IU football recruiting cycle, Matt. I mean, we're not going to get into every single player, but Kurt Signetti is taking that CFP run from this past
Yeah.
season and a season that had College Game Day from ESPN come to Bloomington and Big Noon Kickoff from Fox come to Bloomington and Indiana pantsing every Big Ten opponent except for Ohio State.
Yep.
Um, Signetti's taking that season, the season of dreams, and carrying over all the momentum into not
Yep.
just the portal recruiting from this past season to lead up to 2025, but also 2026 high school recruiting. So much positivity flowing right now. Indiana has a top 25 high school recruiting class in the country for 2026, according to
Jesus.
24/7 Sports. That is uncharted territory for this football program. Even looking back to that
Yep.
2020 year where Indiana had a very good season, they were unable to really translate that into too much recruiting success. Kurt
Right.
Signetti's making that happen right here. You see him retain Bryant Haynes Of course, Mike Shanahan's still on the staff. I see Justice Ellison, stud running back on Indiana last season,
He's on the staff now.
transitioning to his coaching role real nicely. Um, a lot of recruits have tagged Ellison in their commitment posts or in their official visit posts. So it's great to see
Yeah.
Justice finding a role on Indiana's coaching staff. Any thoughts from you just on the football program right now, Matt? The recruiting, it is awesome to see a lot of players committing to Indiana over SEC powerhouses, Big Ten powerhouses. Signetti's doing an unbelievable job.
I mean, the football program has gone from Tom Allen's cult of personality to now the Kurt Signetti cult of personality.
Ooh,
And you know, the latter, the Kurt Signetti cult of personality is really working itself out. And what a home run hire that is. I mean, I tr trust the Darian DeVries hire entirely because in almost entirely because I trust
yeah,
the hire of Kurt Signetti so much. But to be fair to us, both you and I last year
yeah,
around this or maybe earlier than this, but at
yeah.
least by this time last year
Around
we had
this,
talked
yeah.
about who was the most ideal person for IU to hire as a football coach, and both you and I both answered Kurt Signetti. It was
Sig.
the most obvious. It was the most obvious hire, and both of us were like, "This is the home run hire." And then it happened, and both of us were like, "But what?" Like, like we're in absolute shock. I remember us texting each other, being so
Yeah,
excited about it actually
yeah.
happening. So, like, um, I mean, to see it pan out like this is, of course,
Beautiful.
super enthralling. But like there's so much more to come. Like I'm addicted now. Like I'm straight up like I'm like a Kurt Signetti football heroin addict. Like
All of it. Need all of
I
it.
crave the next hit. I do. I genuinely do.
The other day, Big Ten Network was showing Nebraska, Indiana. That was a movie.
Mm. Oh, I could
Michigan,
watch that
Indiana.
game on repeat permanently, I'm pretty sure. The Nebraska Indiana game.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Roll
Shout
out
out
the
Sean
big
Asbury.
red carpet.
Sean Asbury, D'Angelo Pons. That was in the
Oh, they
Washington
were
game.
killing it that game, yeah. Oh, the yes, that was the Washington game, but
Curtis
still,
Curtis Rourke. Man.
the team last year, there's so many
Oh,
iconic moments. They all just blend together for me. I needed to like do a rewatch of all the moments. I literally, I forgot that that was the Washington game.
yeah.
I just, my brain was like that was the
Blends
Nebraska
together.
game, but that was
All the
that
dubs.
was Nebraska the game before that?
Yes. Yes. I think
Yeah,
yeah, because Northwestern got us to six. And then I think it was
right.
Nebraska and then Washington.
Yep. The Northwestern game that was like sneaky uncomfortable for a while.
Yeah, it was. I remember Michigan State had a lead in East Lansing. I think it was 10-0. Of course, the
Mm.
Michigan game, you were always uncomfortable
We
because
were
of Michigan's
holding
prestige.
on.
Um,
We were also just holding on at the end because we could not play offense. But
Shout out to Kurt Signetti carrying over all this positivity into the 2026 recruiting cycle.
mm,
And, we've talked about this with men's basketball before, women's basketball. Even if you don't land a bunch of high school recruits right now, like having these conversations right now might help you a couple years down the road during a portal cycle when a lot of high schoolers who are graduating now remember that Kurt Signetti and Brian Haynes visited them in the high school recruiting process. And all of a sudden, if there's a guy right now
yeah,
who committed to Illinois or to Purdue or to Ohio State or to Notre Dame or to Michigan, and maybe their time at those schools don't pan out, they might reach out to Kurt Signetti and say, hey, you know what? There could be a fit here. So, a lot of good vibes right now for IU football. A reminder, folks, if you enjoy our show, leave us a review, tell a friend, share our links. That kind of support really helps us grow this podcast and reach more passionate IU fans, such as yourself. Ryan, you can follow us on social media everywhere. Find us at the Hoosier Sound or at Indiana HQ, where we'll keep you up to date on everything as it relates to Indiana University sports. Um, as you look at this team now, Matt, I mean, you've talked about a lot of questions, a lot of a lot of areas for improvement, a lot of areas for focus and emphasis going into this off season. There are there's no question that one of the real surprising aspects of this to me, like if you had told me 3 months ago, hey, what's the new IU men's basketball coach going to do this portal season, I would not have guessed just two guys over 6'8", and I
Yeah.
also would not have guessed that a couple of things took place. First of all, almost exclusive mid-major flavor, right? Almost. You had
Yeah.
one season of Sam Alexis at Florida. You had 1 year of Connor Enright at DePaul. Is that
Tucker DeVries.
power conference school? You had one season of Tucker DeVries at West Virginia. Every other season is a mid-major season. I'm
For
pretty sure.
everybody else, yes.
I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
yeah, yeah,
Nick
yeah.
Dorn, Jason Drake, Tate Connerway, all of it. Of course, Trent Sisley High School, Aleksa Ristic, Europe. But that's kind of eye-opening to me. And then in conjunction, Matt, no one really from West Virginia, right? Tucker DeVries, the one season, of course, Drake roots, but one season at West Virginia comes over with his dad. The strength and conditioning staff does come over with I believe Ryan
From
Horn specifically comes over from West Virginia. I know it's
West
music to your
Virginia.
ears.
Yeah.
Um, any surprise there? Mid-major through and through. No one really from the West Virginia era. I know when we started talking about this offseason, we were saying, hey, maybe Sincere Harris, maybe one or two of the assistants come over from West Virginia, maybe one or two of the high school commits to Darian DeVries at West Virginia come over to IU. None of that happened. Any of that surprising to you?
No, I mean West Virginia is a slightly lesser program than Indiana. I'm sure I'll make a bunch of people in West Virginia very
It's
happy
not
by what I said then.
slightly, Matt. It's significantly lesser. There's nothing that West
Yeah.
Virginia has done except for 1 year of Kevin Pittsnoggle uh, and Bob Huggins. That's
I
worth
mean
mentioning.
they I mean they at least have some history with
They're in a
like
conference that is not part of the financial muscle of college sports right now. If you're not an
yeah.
SEC or a Big Ten conference, I don't even pay attention to you anymore.
That's kind of it's kind of sad, but that's really kind of true. And I do feel bad for West Virginia fans, but they just don't have the financial power that Indiana has. They just don't. I'm sorry.
Or
The
the
state,
banners, or the prestige, or the NBA prospects, or
I'm
the
not I'm
college
not
town
going there.
excellence.
I'm not going there. But they're just at a different level of program. Um,
They did have a
so I'm
couple
not
guys I was kind of
surprised.
interested in though, and DeVries said, "Nah, let's figure it out elsewhere."
And the only person on that team that I would have wanted at IU was their point guard, who I wanted last year.
Javon Small.
So Javon Small. I wanted Javon Small last year. He
He
went
was
to West
ineligible,
Virginia and he killed it.
and he's
He's
ineligible.
ineligible.
Time's up.
So it
So
doesn't matter. That's the only person I would have wanted off the team, anyways.
yeah,
Even though they played decent basketball, but it's just like they had to grind it out after Tucker went down. So I don't know. I don't know. I think that team was one absolutely hell of a coaching job
right?
by DeVries, right? An incredible coaching job, seriously, seriously, like an unbelievable job getting that team even remotely close to the tournament.
100%.
I mean, but they were really good with Tucker DeVries at the beginning of the year. They were knocking off teams left and right there. They did much better in the Bahamas than IU did. So and
We don't
that's
speak of the
that's
Bahamas
I mean
anymore.
again, but again the mark for that the floor is in hell. So what was the point I was making? I'm a little rusty on this
It's
podcast
just
thing. I've done
it's
this a
just
while.
look, mid majors. It's no one from West Virginia. Like
It doesn't worry me
this
at
is the
all. It
approach.
doesn't Nathan, it doesn't worry me at all. We've seen mid-major players come to the Big Ten do fine and do more than fine, do fantastic. We've also seen it's the big-bodied mid-major players that are, they were lacking in skills at the time that they got down to the mid-major level and they worked on those skills and they got better and then they move up. Those guys do very well. Most of our team are those guys. So like
especially in the
I'm
backcourt.
okay with
Yeah.
that, especially in the backcourt. Most of our teams are the guys that were 6'6", under recruited out of high school. You know, we're lacking skills and overall, basketball IQ and knowledge or whatever. Go down to a smaller level, gain that, show the ability to do that against Power Five opponents, which a lot of our guys have done, shown out against players. And yeah, I think this team will be fine at that point. I just again, I've voiced my opinion earlier on this podcast. You
Yeah.
can go and rewind it if you want to. You guys know what I'm saying. There's just the one part about this roster that scares me. Only one thing, and it's like two people's knees, and that's it.
I really, really love the approach that Darian DeVries took in filling out his staff. When I think about the three assistants that he brought on, it is actually it's four assistants. It is so satisfying to see a head coach demand excellence out of the guys who are assistants on his bench. And one of my most frustrating parts of the Woodson tenure was the assistants were unserious. And like I know you can say, hey, now the assistants like Kenya Hunter and Yasir Rosemond, even Brian Walsh took jobs at other power conference schools. But that's because they have the experience that they gained at Indiana. Like what's supposed to happen is Indiana goes out and gets assistants that coached at Ohio State or at Texas or at LSU. And then
Yeah,
Indiana brings those guys on board. Woodson did it backwards. He went
yeah,
out and he brought on two assistants that were completely unproven. Yeah,
green.
I mean, honestly,
They're
it's all of
green.
them. It's all of them. The one guy who was worth
Mm.
anything was Dane Fife, and that blew up after 1 year. Never mind the
Yeah,
strength and conditioning, which you've pointed out from the beginning was a red flag. Indiana now has a group of assistants, a strength staff that I think maybe I'll look stupid in a year. I think this group is 100 times more legitimate than the previous one.
yeah.
When I think about bringing over Drew Adams from Cincinnati and from Darian DeVries' knowledge of him at Bradley, I absolutely love
Mm,
seeing Coach Adams on the staff. Rod Clark from Tennessee is going to be a head coach one day.
yeah,
He's going to be a
yeah.
head coach in college basketball sooner than later. This might be a one and done type thing for Rod Clark. He was at Tennessee as an assistant under Rick Barnes. Was excellent at
And
recruiting,
it was a highly coveted
highly
assistant.
coveted.
This
And again, this is Indiana approaching their coaching staff the right way. Hey, there's a guy at Tennessee that maybe wants to take that leap in his career. Let's bring him on board for a year or two to establish a foundation for what we want from our players for the next decade or two to come. Kenny
right.
Johnson, of course, former Indiana assistant. We're familiar with Coach Kenny and his type of recruiting style and his type of presence on the bench. Nick Norton, a former player for Darren DeVries, is on the staff as an assistant. We talked about Chris Virtue, Ryan Horn, the strength and conditioning guys. Mike Bargan has sort of an office role after coming over from Bradley. I cannot wait to see how this coaching staff adds value to this basketball team. I
Yeah,
don't have to worry about detracting, removing value from this basketball team. I don't have to worry about cheerleading and ooh rah rah on the bench. I just want
yeah,
guys on the staff that get to work, that take winning seriously, and put the best product on the court that is possible by establishing a system, by establishing a vision, by establishing fundamentals. I think that's what we're getting. This staff, Matt, to me, is the biggest win of Darren
mm,
DeVries' first offseason. Tucker DeVries is big, but he's the coach's son. Lamar Wilkerson was big, but we'll see. The coaching staff to me is the biggest win. Is that too outlandish of a take, or do you see something there?
That's too level-headed of a take, and I don't appreciate you doing that because that's a really good take, and it makes me look like an idiot. So thanks, Nathan. Thanks, man.
It's too
Appreciate that.
level-headed.
No, no,
That's
you're
me.
absolutely correct
No
in
Indiana
that line of
flavor.
thinking.
Does that concern you?
To the people that want Indiana flavor, who? Who? And my answer is who? You want Steve Alford? Okay, look what Steve Alford has done.
He's
Okay,
not
you
leaving.
want anybody
He's a
from
coach. He's a head coach.
look at how right well, that too, right? But I mean they wanted him as a head coach. So you want him? Okay, go ahead, knock your socks off. You want any other form? I mean, obviously Kenny,
Of course.
Coach Kenny has experience here, but he at least has experience here when things were good.
Yeah.
Who the heck else do you want back? I'm sorry. You guys want change. You want something different, and then you're going to ask for Indiana guys back. Indiana hasn't been freaking consistently relevant since the 90s. So who the hell is still coaching from the 90s? No one. And you want players back from the 90s? Okay, maybe. You had Calbert Cheney on the last roster. How the heck did that work out? You know?
Jordan
You had him on
Hulls
the last
didn't work
staff.
out.
You had Jordan Hulls. I mean, Jordan Hulls, I
Whatever.
don't know, the Crean era. But like, you
You could
know,
bring back Crean, but Crean's not. Crean's going to be a head coach sooner than later.
yeah, I hope so. He just that guy deserves it.
He's going to be a head coach.
Just yeah. Um, but no, I mean like there's no one else you really want back. Really, seriously, there's not, guys. There's not. There's no one that comes from a consistent level of winning at IU where they'd bring anything of any sort of un
Yeah.
unobtainable knowledge,
Yeah.
right?
Lawrence Frank, but he's more like a executive type role, so you're not going to do that. Isaiah Thomas, not going to do that. Calbert, you talked
Also, you don't
about.
want Isaiah Thomas doing coaching anywhere near.
Uh,
And like
yeah,
I love IT. Don't get me wrong. I love Zeke, but like God, yeah,
no, fair enough. Um, yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm looking at this and I'm saying, you know what? This staff to me is going to be, if Indiana turns it around, makes the NCAA tournament consistently, you're going to remember this group. Drew Adams, Rod Clark, Kenny Johnson, Nick Norton, Ryan Horn, strength and conditioning, Mike Bargan as an sort of office role, executive role. Get
mm,
this thing back on track. And I can't wait to see them over the next several months mold and develop and bring this team together because
yeah,
that was the main sentence from the Darren DeVries inaugural press conference, right? It was, we're building a team, not a collection of players. And I'm looking forward to seeing this staff make that come to reality. So, a lot of stuff to dive into as far as men's basketball team. We'll wrap it up here in just a moment. But first, a quick social media shout out. A friendly reminder, folks, if you enjoy our show, again, leave us a review. Tell a friend. Share our links. That kind of support really helps us grow this podcast, reach more passionate IU fans such as yourself. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of hot topic podcast episodes this summer about the football team, more about men's
heck yeah.
basketball. There's going to be so much that changes as far as uh, the Big Ten is concerned. We'll get schedules coming up here. We'll get all sorts of fun stuff as it relates to college football, men's basketball, women's basketball, the whole shebang. So follow us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, the Hoosier Sound, as well as Indiana HQ. Matt, on Instagram, we're not Indiana HQ, but what are we?
Indiana.HQ. And just because we haven't done this in a couple months doesn't mean I don't forget that.
We need an off season. There's no off season in college sports.
There really
And
isn't.
after the portal settled, the portal dust settled, in what, maybe mid late April. We needed to settle down. Because
Yeah,
remember,
we
the
did.
football team was good. We did not budget in a 11-1 football season. I needed to reset my emotional battery,
There was
recharge.
a lot. Looking back, we should do a year in review of the
Oh,
entire athletic program
wow.
podcast because,
Wow.
like, there's a lot that went on, and it's like a lot of good stuff, of course, but also
We
like,
got
uh,
CFP and the men's coach losing his job.
and
Like,
that's not
that's never
even
going to
we haven't
happen
even
again in our
talked about
lifetime
this.
in the same
We
year.
haven't even talked about this. But then you have like the Dr. James Bomba stuff that's happened.
Oh, I didn't see that
Off,
coming. Yeah.
off, yeah, like
Yeah.
you've had that hanging over the athletic program. You've had all the changes to, the
Oh,
NCAA in the
crazy.
last year. You've had, the women's team and what they did this year,
Yeah.
which they were fantastic.
Tournament.
Um, Made the tournament. They were very, very good.
Won
Got
a
kind
game
of
in the
unlucky with
tournament,
the
too.
draw. Yeah, they got unlucky with the draw. But like,
By the way, they also held a halftime lead at South Carolina. Is that right? Or
yeah,
a
they
third quarter
did.
lead,
Yeah,
halftime lead?
they were winning at
I forget.
some point moderately through that game, if I remember correctly. I don't remember exactly when they lost it. That's my bad. Ends up I don't remember that.
Just look.
But
Fine.
I mean, just like the year in the review for the whole athletic. I mean, like swim and dive. I think who won a national championship? There was a program that won a national championship, wasn't that? Was women?
I have to go back. Swimming and diving was unbelievable this past year, and
Yeah.
they're gonna be prepping for the, of course, the 28 Olympics. The NBA Finals is going on. We got Thomas Bryant balling out, especially in clinching games. It was hilarious to see TB do big things against the Cavs and against the Knicks in the closeout games of both of those series. Of course, OG was unbelievable for the
He's been
Knicks and their
unbelievable
deep
for
playoff
so
run.
long.
Um, any NBA Finals thoughts, Matt? Is there anything about these games you're seeing between the Pacers and Thunder that you could maybe draw a parallel to with Indiana basketball, with IU basketball, I should say? The series has been awesome. It looks like maybe Tyrese Halliburton's injury is going to be tough for the Pacers to overcome, but it's been an unbelievable NBA playoffs. Is there anything that's opened your eyes about postseason NBA basketball and just any final thoughts in general, any connections to IU? Just floor is open.
Oh man, you're gonna let me talk. Um, yeah, so as far as the NBA Finals goes, one, I think the Pacers are cooked. So I'm sorry to all my Pacer fans out there, but I just don't see you getting over the Tyrese Halliburton injury. I can't see you getting past that. And he's gonna try to play through it, I think.
Grit, grit.
But you only have one or two games left, so you might as well try. But
They've
I
banked
just
two
I
wins though, Matt. Like this is the goofy part about this series. Like I feel like it's 3-1 when it's actually 3-2, and the Pacers have a home game tonight in America.
yeah, exactly.
Like
So
and they're only 6.5 point underdogs. Like this is not, Appalachian State at Michigan, which by the way wasn't that big of a spread. It's not Akron at Ohio State. This is this is that's one of my favorite things. It's like Appalachian State wasn't that big of an underdog at Michigan when they pulled off the upset. Akron, I think it was in the 2024 football season, this past one, was like a 56-point underdog at Ohio State or something. And then I remembered the
yeah.
previous season, Indiana needed like multiple overtimes to beat Akron. That's a different story. Um, it's
Uh,
3-2. Indiana just needs one game. And then all
what
bets
I'm
are off
saying
in
is
game seven.
well, I bet you Thomas Bryant does something good in that game. Um, but no, I understand that, Nathan. But at the same time, this Pacers team is not the same basketball team when Tyrese Halliburton is even 85% as good as what he is. Like this team revolves around him. And the people that, by the way, don't think that Tyrese Halliburton is a superstar are brain dead idiots. Like straight up brain dead. He is
Yeah.
one of the best passers of the basketball I have ever seen. Like at any position.
I think I have this tweet
ever.
out there on my personal account. I think I said somewhere recently that the three best passers in basketball right now are LeBron, Halliburton, and Caitlin Clark. I think I said that somewhere.
That's the
I
correct
think it's
opinion.
like three in their
That's
own
that's
tier.
just that's just the correct opinion. And passing the basketball is what makes basketball a good basketball player a basketball player.
So just to pause there, Indiana's bringing a lot of that over. Darren DeVries is bringing a lot of that over. That should be sign for optimism, right?
I agree. I agree. There should be signs for optimism. But you need depth at the front line for the Big Ten. That's all I'm
Sure,
saying.
fair enough.
I if like for example, you said that 7'3" Italian kid on campus, right?
Yeah,
God help me, I don't remember his name at all.
Luigi
Um,
Sewego.
that guy, Luigi, not the one that shot the United Healthcare CEO, the
Man,
other Luigi.
the real Luigi. I mean, that guy is third on Luigi Power Rankings. All right, the first one
There's Mario and
is there
Luigi.
you. Yeah,
There's
thank
the
you.
there's the seven
Right,
foot three Luigi kid that
center
just showed up on campus,
2026. Yeah,
and
then
then it's Luigi
we can.
Mangione. Then it's him, and
Then
it's
it's the
him.
murderer. Yeah,
um, but anyways, bizarre side
wow.
tangent. Bizarre
Yeah.
side tangent aside.
Ugh.
Um, no, I like if you added like a 7'3" body on this roster, I think I'm okay with that with whatever else happens. And I think the team I looked at the scholarship charts, they have 15 scholarships, they're at 12 right now. Plus you have the two guys waiting for waivers. I think you
Yeah.
add one and then maybe get the two guys back from waivers, maybe one guy back, and
Right.
then you call it a day. So I don't think the roster is finished. Genuinely. I think they will find one guy that's got a little bit, he wears big shoes, he barely fits in a
Mm,
bed, and he's got some meat on his bones. And
sure.
that guy will play the five in
I'm sure
practice.
there's always another plot twist or two in this off
But also like
season.
I went to IU. It's a big school. I'm sure they could find some undergrad that's 6'10" and a meatball. There's some dude from like Greencastle that
Sure.
like that is
Yeah.
is is
No, I
six
hear
foot
you.
ten.
Does
Has to
Trent
be.
Sisley have
There
any
has to be.
connections? Right.
It's, Trent, you got a cousin? Can
Bring back
you say my name is Pablo and
I
I'm
was gonna
uh
say, well, I
I'm
was gonna say
I'm
is there like a Zeller
14.
cousin, Tony Zeller? You
Yeah,
know.
anybody willing to do the I'm 12 and put a $20 bill in a
Dave Zeller. Is he out there somewhere?
yeah.
Washington. Um, no, great points about the finals. I think the Thunder and the Pacers are both obvious examples of two organizations that had a mindset, a vision, a process that they were confident in, and then they're seeing the fruits of their labor 2 or 3 years later.
They stuck with it, yeah.
It's the roster building. Of course, in college sports, you can't have trades, literally. I feel like
Well, not yet.
we've seen, there's that. And also, I feel like we've seen some like, one guy goes from team A to team B in the portal, and then another guy goes from team B to team A in the portal, and then you're like, oh, it's kind of a trade. Um, the Pacers and the Thunder both really smashed home run trades, no question about it, over the
Smash.
last several years. OKC got SGA from the Clippers, the Pacers got Halliburton from the
Hmm.
Kings. Never mind, a couple of others in there. But
But
when it
they got
comes,
Halliburton in the Sabonis
yeah,
trade, right?
yeah, exactly,
That
exactly.
trade looks better the
Big time,
longer time goes on.
big
Yeah.
time, big time. Of course, the Thunder, right? They go get Mark Dagnall, who is playing a very versatile style of basketball. It feels like everyone on the court can do four, five, six different things. Even the bigs, right? Holmgren can hit threes and protect the rim. Hartenstein can pass out of the short roll and dunk, throw it down off of lobs and grab rebounds. The Pacers are very similar, right? Nemhard, amazing defensively, in addition to facilitating on
Mhm.
offense. Neesmith, a great shooter, as well as really picking up his rebound game here in the finals, especially. Um,
Yeah.
Halliburton is everything. SGA is everything. And so, the days of the one-dimensional basketball player are long gone.
Mm.
Miles Turner can straight. By the way, we talked about how rebounding and size doesn't always connect. I think Miles Turner is a good example of that. He adds a ton of value to the Pacers. He's not a rebounding stud, right? There are games where he gets two, three rebounds, but he's still effective as a
Yeah.
basketball player by stretching the floor, protecting the rim, setting good screens to help the offense function, um, even if the rebound number isn't there. So the system, the process, the vision matters so much. Dagnall and Carlisle have built and developed their teams over a couple of years. The difference is in the NBA, you have contracts. In college basketball, you don't. And guys can leave after
Mm.
a season. So the question is, can
Right.
Darian DeVries now, after adding several players in his first offseason, bring back the six guys that have an extra year of eligibility? That would be really nice for Darian DeVries in year two. We're talking about Nick Dorn and Jason Drake and Josiah Miles and Josh Harris, of course, Sicily and Ristic. Um, can those guys return to Indiana for a second year to help build on what they learned in year one? I think that's a question for us down the road. But I do see some parallels in what the Pacers are doing and what the Thunder are doing and to what Indiana basketball could be in a couple of
Mm.
years with a responsible approach, with great coaching staffs, with players that can do several things on the court at the same time. The NBA game is so much different from college, but I do see some
The
potential there.
N the NBA game is so much different from college, Nathan, but the building of a program in the NBA and the building of a
Yeah.
program in college are very similar. It's
Now
not
more
the
than ever.
first team, the first team that you build in the NBA is not the team that wins you championship. It's the system you play
Yeah.
that wins you that championship. Then you add the pieces to fit. In college, at least you can go out and find guys that fit, but to perfect that roster and perfect that style of play, it takes a similar amount of time.
Totally agree. Any final thoughts here, Matt, as we wind down on this Thursday from your end, whether it's basketball related, football related, finals related, anything on your mind?
I'm just happy to talk to you guys again. It's been a while,
Yeah, we'll
and
pick it up here this summer.
we'll pick it up. I was back in the U.S. and I don't know, did we do a podcast
I don't
when
remember.
I
I
was
don't
back
think
in
we
the
did. I
U.S.?
don't think we did.
I
No,
don't think we did. It's been a while. I went back to the U.S.
been
Now
a
I'm
minute.
back in China. We'll
All,
we'll,
all
we'll make
good.
this a more regular thing.
Any,
All
a lot of a lot of bombings going on. Everything good over there? Everything's fine here. Just
everything
we'll
so
check
far
in.
is great. I've been traveling around. I've been traveling around Asia. I've been to Korea. I made a trip to the Philippines last weekend. Like I've been to a bunch of different countries here. I'm knocking off some of the little
Nice.
place boards on the world map, and
Yes, yes.
hopefully I'll continue to do that without getting
I was,
running
same
into
here,
any
Matt.
issues.
Same here,
Yeah,
Matt.
no,
We got
please no
protests.
issues
We
for
got this and
me.
that. We got all sorts of stuff. We got Israel and all your man.
Oh
It
yeah, the
is
world is a crazy place, but at least we have IU sports in it. So
portal life and TV contracts and fun, more fun stuff for sure. I don't think I have anything else. I guess for me, like you could pretty much have whatever opinion you want about Darren DeVries' roster building approach in year one and defend it. You could sit here and say, man, I think Indiana's going to be a terrible team this upcoming year and DeVries' first season, and I can sort of defend that. You could say that Indiana's going to surprise you and look better than expected, and play good enough basketball. They're locked for the NCAA tournament, and then possibly even bigger upside, then you could probably defend that too. Again, DeVries had a pretty chaotic year last year and should have made March Madness at West Virginia.
Yeah.
So, like, if you take that and say, hey, you reduce the noise, you get a little bit more production out of your guys, and the coaching staff knows what they're doing, all of a sudden you take a 18-19 win team and say, well, that could be 23-24. And, well, there you go. That's a very, very successful season. You can defend any opinion you want as far as men's basketball is concerned. So, this summer is going to be really important as far as IU implementing the stuff they want from an X's and O's fundamental standpoint with their program and then taking off from there. But folks, that about wraps it up for our 346th episode of the Hoosier Sound. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. To hear more fantastic episodes like the one you heard today, be sure to follow us at Indiana HQ or at the Hoosier Sound to make sure you don't miss any in the future. You can also go to our website, indianahq.com, to find it all in one place. But as always, thank you for listening, Hoosier Nation, and we will see you next time.
Peace and love, go Hoosiers.